Hi Rangers, in this video we're going to talk about slope with ordered pairs and slope from a table. So for both of these, what we're going to use is the slope formula. So remember, slope uses the variable m, and the formula is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So if you look at our ordered pairs, notice we have our first point, which is x sub 1 and y sub 1. We would plug that in for these corresponding numbers right here. Then it has its second point of x sub 2 and y sub 2, and we would plug these in over here. Now, slope is the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so that often helps us remember that y's go on top. The change in y over the change in x. Same thing's going to happen for our table. Okay, we would have our first point right here, x sub 1, y sub 1, and our second point here, x sub 2, y sub 2. You can use any points on the table. I just tend to use the first ones. So, going to some examples, we're going to start with ordered pairs. So what is the slope of the line that passes through the points below? So we have 2 points. Let's go ahead and label them. X sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. From here, we're going to go ahead and rewrite our formula. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And now we just plug in our values. So x sub 2 is negative 1. Y sub 1 is 2. But our formula has a built-in minus sign, so it's minus 2. Then we go to x sub 2, which is 4, minus x sub 1, which is 5. So we have that. Then we switch over to our calculator, and we type it in the calculator. So we use our fraction button, the yellow button, divide, and we would type in negative 1 minus 2 over 4 minus 5. Press enter. It tells us we get 3, so 3 is our slope. So our slope m equals 3. Next one, what is the slope of the line that passes through the points below? So again, I'm going to label x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. I'm going to rewrite our formula. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And we plug in our values. So y sub 2 is negative 3 minus y sub 1, which is 0, over x sub 2, which is 4, minus x sub 1, which is also 4. So I'm going to switch back over to my calculator and type this in. So I get my fraction button by hitting Control Divide. Negative 3 minus 0 over 4 minus 4. Press enter. It tells me it's undefined. So that's my answer. So for this example, our m, our slope, is undefined. Okay, so those were examples of points. Now looking at the tables, what is the rate of change of the average height in feet of the trees on the farm with respect to the number of years since the trees were planted? So what this tells me is these values right here are my x values. My y values are the average height. So for this one, I just like to go ahead and just use the first points that are given. So 110 and 324. And I'm going to label my points. X sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. So I'm going to go ahead and write out my formula. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And I'm going to plug in my values. So I have 24 minus 10 over 3 minus 1. I'm going to go ahead and plug that into my calculator. So I have my fraction, 24 minus 10 over 3 minus 1, and I get 7. Oops. So my slope equals 7. And that's it. Looking at the last example, what is the slope of the line that passes through the following points? I still have a table. I have my x values here, my y values here. So my 2 points I'm going to use are these two, -2, 3, and 0, 1. So I'm going to go ahead and write out my slope formula. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And I'm going to plug in my values. So my y values are 3 minus 3. I forgot to label them. So this is x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. So I did 3 minus 3. Then I have 0 minus -2. And I'm going to type that into my calculator. Remember, the formula has built-in minus signs, so there should always be a minus sign. And then you put your negative sign. So, my calculator, my fraction button, I have 3 minus 3 over 0 minus a -2. Press enter, I get 0. So my slope for this is 0. So be sure to write down any questions you may have and ask your teacher. Have a great day, Rangers.